this second module on effective behavior management on the school bus, we'll be focusing on actions that drivers can take to increase positive engagement with students. It's a fact. The more you have positive interactions with others, even in brief, the more you come to think positively about those people, and the more likely it is your positive interactions will continue. The same logic applies to our work with students. The hard part, of course, is that some students have a tendency to either come right at us with a negative interaction or have behaviors that require us to interact in less than a purely positive manner. That's why we need to discuss some specific strategies for creating positive engagement. Let's start by talking about relationships. You don't have to be best friends with the students on your bus. That's not realistic. What's important is that you communicate your genuine care about their well-being. When students believe that you care, they are less likely to do things that they know bother you. Of course, this is not the case for every student. But as we discussed in the last module, it does increase the probability for success. And every time you increase the probability a little with a simple action, the greater the chances of a positive payoff in the long run. Students with frequent misbehavior represent the biggest challenge for us in terms of positive interactions. Often the only time these students hear anything at all from adults is when they do something wrong. That's why it's especially important to get out ahead of these students and find a way to start a positive interaction. Positive interactions should begin as early as possible. So, our first thought should be how we greet students as they board the bus. As a first consideration, think about having some sort of positive interaction with every student as they enter. Saying hello, smiling at students, asking how their day was, or even offering a fist bump all set the tone for a positive relationship. Sounds simplistic, but it works. A friendly greeting sets the stage for positive interaction down the line. Remember, you don't have to be best buddies with every student, but the more you know about them, the easier it is to provide a genuine greeting. For example, knowing that a student likes basketball might mean the driver can say, "See that game last night?" And knowing that a student has a big test coming up means the driver could say, "Good luck on that test today. I know you'll do your best." These are just simple conversation starters, and even if the student doesn't have a real response back, you've made the point that you know and care about them. Reminders can also be used as a part of a genuine greeting, smiling at a student and telling him or her that you know they'll remember to stay seated today. Take a look at how this driver engages students as a part of the initial greeting.
Morning. Morning, y'all. Morning, y'all. Good morning. Morning, y'all. Morning. Looking good. Mallory. Precious. Demo. Hey, y'all. How you doing, man? Wesley. What's up, brother? What's up? Francisco. Good morning. Good morning. Find a seat. Good morning. Morning. Morning.
For those students with whom you've had either frequent or very recent problems, it sometimes helps to catch them before they get on the bus, to have a brief, private, and genuine conversation. This might consist of simply asking for their help to keep the bus safe or to request a favor.
Morning. Hey, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Hey, guys. Hey, if you don't mind, when you get on the bus, if you could have a seat, you guys are a huge influence, and that would help me out a lot.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Morning. Morning.
Notice that the driver simply asked for assistance without focusing on the past misbehavior. While it might seem counterintuitive, asking challenging students for their help can actually be a very effective strategy. There's one more thing to consider as part of engaging students positively, and that is we have to remember not to allow negative student behavior to change how we act. Remember, we are the adults and the professionals. Students' behavior does not control us. We control our own behavior. For all people who work with kids, including teachers, administrators, and bus drivers, if the students in your charge don't sometimes frustrate you, then check your pulse. It's totally normal to be frustrated and at times even annoyed by students. But as a manner of controlling our own behavior, we can't let them see us sweat at these challenges. Being openly frustrated or angry with students provides little probability for change. The key is making sure that they don't believe they can get you wound up, because if they believe that, they're going to keep trying to do it. This is a very important component of the relationship consideration, and it will be demonstrated with specific student misbehaviors in modules 4 and 5. But as a general rule, we always remain calm and simply provide students with reminders of both the rule and the consequence. Confrontations and challenges rarely end without escalation and more intensive problems. Sometimes, students' behavior can get on your nerves. Step 1 is always to take a breath and calmly remind the student of the rule. A good corrective procedure involves asking the student to remind you of what the rule is, and then to ask whether he or she is acting in accordance with the rule. If the student complies, provide a thank you and a reminder for the future. Then move on without providing an undue focus on the misbehavior, which tends to escalate student behavior. Remember, student misbehavior is not a problem for you, and you don't take it personally. It is a problem for the student because there is a consequence, and you're simply making them aware. If the student does not comply, then simply remind him or her of the consequences. But it's not a threat or an ultimatum. Rather, you simply remind that student that if he or she does not comply, they are choosing to receive the consequence. It's important here to realize, when framed this way, you do not give a consequence. The student chooses it through behavior. Further, there's no reason for you to be angry or threatening. It's simply up to the student to decide. Watch how this driver handles a student's misbehavior using this process.
Do you understand the consequences for being out of your seat?
Man, whatever. I'm talking to her real quick.
I understand, but I need you to go back to your seat.
No way.
Okay, are you choosing for your mom to come and talk with us, and you may be suspended off the bus?
That's stupid. Hold on now.
I understand how you feel, but I'm asking you to go sit at the seat.
Fine, sit in my seat.
Thank you.
Notice that the driver was totally in control and communicated the issue as a problem for the student and not the driver. Even though the student continued to argue, the driver simply stayed calm and on script, reminding the student of the consequence and making the student make the choice. In this module, we've talked about how drivers can engage with students in ways that strengthen relationships. While relationships are a predictor for increased student success, there are times the driver must address misbehavior. But even in the face of non-compliance and disrespect, the driver maintains the role of the professional and adult, simply laying out the consequences in a genuine yet business-like manner. In later modules, these principles will be brought up again in light of more specific misbehaviors, either as a large group or in small groups. Discuss what parts of this module you found to be most relevant to you and your driving experience. Think about some challenging students with whom you deal. What kind of strategies could you use to start an engagement? The idea is not to make everyone your best friend. It's just to let them know you see them as a person. How can you do that? You'll have opportunities for similar discussions related to some specific misbehaviors and challenges in later modules.